Welcome to Cloud Pillar X, and I'm Raju Karmuri. In this video, we'll be writing Lambda function code in Python for generating pre-signed URL using S3 access points. In our previous video, we have created S3 bucket and we have created S3 access points for all the insurance programs. And also we have created API gateway endpoints. So in this video, we'll connect the Lambda function code to the API gateway using S3 access points. And this Lambda function handles three actions. The first one is to generate the pre-signed URL, and we'll be using a put request. The second one is to get the metadata of the file that already exists on the S3 bucket, and we'll be downloading the file from S3 bucket using another URL. So for download URL 2, we'll be using two API calls. The first API call is to get the URL, pre-signed URL, and the second API call is also a get method to download the file from S3 bucket. And we'll be testing all these three actions from Postman. That's it. Let's jump into Lambda function and write the code. So before writing the Lambda function, let us stage the API. We need to deploy this API into a new stage. So otherwise, whatever the changes that we made or resources and methods that we add on API gateway, they will not be accessible publicly. So if I deploy this, it asks for a stage. So we need to create a stage for this API, and the stage name can be dev or prod or test. Right now I'll give it as dev. I'll deploy this, and the URL will be created like this with /dev. So now let's go to the resources. Let's go to get and test. Before writing the test, let's go to the Lambda function. And I just want to see what the API gateway is sending as an event to the Lambda function. So what I'll do is I'll just remove this code, just return JSON dump event. So let's see what event is, what it is sending. If I type something on the API gateway, how the event is being received, and we can test it from the API gateway. Here, action, let us give it as pre-signed URL. File name sample.pdf, program CardioCare, and subfolder is new. If I click on test, so the response body, the dump, JSON dump, the event, it is giving it as path parameters, action, preset URL, program type is CardioCare, subfolder, new, file name, and file name is sample.pdf, whatever that I've given it as input here. It is creating the JSON like this because we have set up like this on the mapping template. And therefore, if you remember the mapping template here, integration request, it is set up as path parameters action. So what are the input that we give? It is successfully going to the Lambda function, and the test is retrieving what are the details that we have as a dictionary. Let's do it again. Pre-signed URL, sample.pdf, CardioCare, subfolder is new. Let's test it again. So you see that it is taking it as a JSON, and Lambda is written in Python, so it will be treated as a dictionary within a dictionary. You see the endpoint request body. So input parameters, it took whatever the input parameters I've given here. So now let's go back to the Lambda function and let's write the code based on the event that we have received so far. So in the event, we saw that we have path parameters. So let's get the path parameters one by one, action, program type, subfolder, and file name. So I will get the path parameters. So the copilot is asking if it is a list, but it is a dictionary. So therefore the method has to be .get. And this is correct. We get the path parameters, and within the path parameters, you'll have another dictionary. So now from the path parameters, the first one is action. So we need to get the action equal to, yes, the very first one is path parameters. We'll get that. And then program type will be program type. The next one is subfolder, and we'll get the subfolder as well. And next, we need to get the file name, and we get the file name too. So for our logging purposes, let's print the program type, folder, and the file name. So before doing anything, let's try to check if program type, program underscore type, and subfolder and file name are provided. Yes, this is what we want, just to make sure that we don't miss out any parameters. And let us also get the header. Yep. And let's also see it should allow all regions. Let's take this out. Okay. And we are connecting to the Lambda through Lambda function to the S3 bucket, and we are connecting to the S3 bucket using access points. So before that, let us import Boto3 to connect to S3. So let's get S3 equal to Boto3 client. Let's define access points. So I'll get all the access points in a dictionary. So I have copied it. So I have all the access points in dictionary. Let me make this big. So, so I got all the access points along with their ARN and alias. So let's try to see if the program type exists. Check if program type exists in access points. Yep. Yes. Now let us try to get the access point ARN and also the alias from each of these access points. Maybe info. This would be access points of program type. And access point ARN is of this. Access point alias is this. Okay, let's create the object key so that it matches the object key that we are trying to find on the S3 bucket. All the path parameters, they should correspond to the S3 bucket object key. I mean, if we upload a file here in CardioCare and new and see the properties, this entire path should match to the object key because everything in S3 treats as an object key. So even if though we have these folders, S3 treats everything as an object key. And if we have a file here in new, and that file will be this path slash the file name. So therefore, we want to get the file name. That's why we will give the object key, entire object key, the entire path, which is including the program type. Okay. For our testing purposes, just to make sure we have received the correct access points. Access point here will be access point here and also access point alias. We'll get this. So now what we have done is we got the path parameters from API gateway, and we are checking from the path parameters if the program type is valid, or first we are initially checking if everything is provided so that we'll have all the parameters required on the S3 bucket. Because even if you miss one of the path parameters, we'll not get here into the new. And the next one is we are checking if the program exists, because if we enter something that is not valid, the Lambda code should say that this is not a valid program. So that's why we are checking that too. And then we are getting the S3 location of the file where we want to upload it using the access points. So that's why we are defining the access points. Usually, if you are using a S3 bucket, you'll give the S3 bucket name instead of access points, but we want to hide the bucket name details. And that's why we are taking all the access point details that we have. And usually people use bucket name and they will be using it as an environment variable. You can also use a secret manager to store these as in a secret manager of AWS services, but that will be expensive for us because each secret manager key we have to pay for it. So we don't want to do that. That's why we are defining it here in the Lambda function itself. So our next task is to handle the other parameter, which is the action, which is the most important thing for us. So if you remember the action in my previous slides, I said that we'll have three actions: pre-send URL, get metadata, and download URL. So it is best if you write this in a try and catch. He's already suggesting me quality is so good. So let me use that. I will give generate pre-signed URL and yep, this is what we want. You see, it has to be a get put method because I need to put it inside the bucket using the design URL. And if you see, it expires in 1 hour. We can set it to any number of minutes or hours here. So let's keep it 1 hour as it is. And next, we need to get the metadata. Else if action equal to get underscore metadata, then we need to, yep, I would rather have more details on the get metadata. Yeah, this will be the response. Let the response be s3 dot get underscore access point ARN. Yes, we'll use the access point ARN, and let's keep the metadata equal to get everything that we need. File name, so give the file name. Yes, we need the file content type as modified. Yes, let us also get the object URL with the file resides. So let's test HTTPS. Let's use access point alias this time. We already have object key defined above with the program type and everything, and it has to be in long brackets. Yep. So they should be fine. Now just return the status code. Else if action equal to generate download URL. So we'll get the pre-signed URL and we'll use s3 dot generate pre-signed URL. Okay, and then return status code. Okay, now if any of the actions is not valid, then we should just say else return invalid action code. So if the try doesn't work out, we'll have except action JSON term and everything. So this is our Lambda function code. Let us deploy this. Okay, my Lambda function code is deployed. This looks good. Let us go and test it. Now we have everything here. Instead of this, we will write generate pre-signed URL. CardioCare sample. Yes, everything looks good. Hmm, Must be type. Okay. No. Oh, fantastic. Yep. There you go. We got the pre-signed URL. Now let's test this on Postman. So to test it on the Postman, we need to get the URL from API Gateway. So in order to get the URL, let's redeploy this. We already have a dev stage. If I deploy this, all the changes made on the API will be updated, and the URL is this. So let's go to take a notepad and get the URL. I come back to resources, and for the resources, this is the entire path we need to have in order to upload it to S3 subfolders. So we want to upload it to CardioCare new, and the first thing is we need to have upload. Upload is static. So the reason why I kept upload is because if we want to create another path for direct uploads, we can have a different name. For now, I'll use upload for pre-signed URL path. So then the action is to generate the pre-signed URL. It should match from the Lambda function. Next is the program type, which is CardioCare. Next, the subfolder is new. And the next, let's put as sample.jpg. I'll copy this. Okay, a pre-signed URL is generated from the Lambda function. So if you see the action, I use generate pre-signed URL, and it picked up from the Lambda function. It picked up the access point ARN based on the program type. So it picked up CardioCare access point, and then there is a CardioCare new and sample.jpg. Along with that, S3 has sent some security tokens and the credential, and it expires in 1 hour, and there will also be a signature like this. So we'll be using this URL, and then we'll upload a file to S3. If you remember the architecture, first the API gateway will get the request from Lambda, and the Lambda will send a pre-signed URL. Using the pre-signed URL, we'll upload to S3 directly. So that's what we are going to do now. We got the pre-signed URL, and then click on body, binary, because we are sending a file. Let's pick a JPEG file and upload this. Okay, the file is uploaded. I come here, and if I refresh this, you'll see the file is uploaded. So now let's get the metadata of this file, and the path will be the same, but instead of generate pre-signed URL, we will be taking get metadata. So let me copy this entire path. This here. Yeah, let's get metadata. And I send it. Okay, I got the get metadata from S3. Let's compare it. I open this. You see the image type is JPEG, and here also it shows JPEG. This entire path URL, the last modified, and the size it is giving it is in bytes, and the file name, everything it is capturing it from the S3. So next, let's try to download from Postman. So in order to do that, let's generate the URL with this. Okay. Instead of get metadata from my Lambda function, I'll use generate download URL. So this will generate a URL, pre-signed URL, and using that pre-signed URL, we can download the file. Here you see there is a download URL, and for the previous one, it was the pre-signed URL. That's what we have defined here. We kept it as download URL here. That's why we got the download URL, and for the previous one, it was a pre-signed URL. Okay, now let's use this download URL, and the second API call is also get. Therefore, just click on get. You see the file is downloaded to Postman. So that's how we can use pre-signed URL to upload, get metadata, and download URL. So the next one is we'll create a direct upload to S3 for files that are less than 10 MB.